Welcome to Wawasan Wire. Today we're talking about a pretty significant development. Deputy Prime Minister and Barisan National Chairman Ahmad Zahid Hamidi basically shutting down an offer from PAS.
That's right, an offer aimed at luring the Malaysian Chinese Association, MCA, and the Malaysian Indian Congress, MIC, over to the opposition side.
Yeah, and this isn't just, everyday political noise. It feels more like a strategic move, a real political chess match happening right now.
Definitely. There are layers to this calculations, dilemmas for the parties involved. It could really ripple through the whole political scene.
Okay, so let's start with Zahid himself. His statement was incredibly direct, wasn't it?
Very. No mincing words. He acknowledged PAS extended this, well, what he termed an olive branch to MCA and MIC.
An olive branch to get them to jump ship to Barisan Nasional, the opposition coalition.
Exactly. But Zahid's point was crystal clear. He doesn't think that's necessarily the best move for MCA or MIC right now.
And you have to remember, when Zahid speaks on this, it carries a lot of weight. He's not just the Barisan Nasional chair.
Right, he's also the Deputy Prime Minister. That gives his words a certain gravity. You listen.
So what's the underlying message there? Is he just protecting his coalition, or is there more to it?
Well, it's fascinating how he's handling it. He's leveraging both roles, party chairman and DPM. Yeah, that authority is undeniable. The implication is pretty sharp. Leaving Barisan Nasional now, MCA and MIC might end up losing more than they gain. That's the core warning.
So he's framing the PAS offer as, what, tempting but maybe empty?
Precisely. He used the word temptation, but suggested it lacks real substantive benefits. It's a classic political reminder, isn't it? Alliances aren't just about quick wins or how things look on the surface. They're about the long game, strategy, actual returns.
Yeah, we've seen parties make impulsive moves before that didn't exactly pan out well for them.
Exactly. History's full of examples where short-sighted moves backfired. Zahid's reminding them, essentially, to think very carefully, especially when their representation and, frankly, survival is on the line.
That makes sense. Weighing the immediate lure against the long-term strategy.
Okay, let's peel back that layer then, this olive branch. Who exactly from PAS extended it? And do we know what was actually offered?
Well, the reports indicate the invitation came from Tuan Ibrahim.
The deputy president of PAS.
Correct. And he apparently stated he was extending it in a personal capacity.
Personal capacity.
Yeah.
In politics, that phrase always makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's rarely just a casual, personal chat when figures like that are involved. There's almost always a strategic intention behind it. If you connect the dots, you see PAS making this step at this specific time.
Well, it's calculated.
So what's the calculation? What's Barisan Nasional trying to achieve here?
It looks like an attempt by Barisan Nasional, where PAS is a major player, to consolidate its position or maybe even expand its reach. Particularly, trying to gain some traction within the non-Malay communities.
Right, trying to maybe soften an image that's often seen as very Malay-Muslim focused.
That could be part of it. Inviting long-standing parties like MCA and MIC, even if they're currently weakened, is a way to test the waters. They're likely probing. Seeing just how deep the dissatisfaction within MCA and MIC runs, is it enough to trigger a major political shift?
A shift that could destabilize the current unity government, potentially.
Potentially. It's a strategic gamble, really. Broaden their appeal, maybe pick up some disillusioned voters or even parties. It's audacious.
It definitely is, especially given the history between these parties. Okay, so this puts MCA and MIC squarely in the spotlight. We know they haven't been quiet about feeling, well, cold-shouldered, perhaps, within the current government setup. It's not just rumors.
No, it's been quite public. You had Dato Sri Wikasyong, the MCA president, saying back in June that all their divisions, like 191 of them, would be discussing the party's future direction.
And that proposals would come up at their big meeting in October.
Exactly. And MIC has also said, quite openly, they're willing to talk to anyone, any party, if it helps ensure their survival and lets them better serve the Indian community.
So they're clearly exploring options, or at least signaling they are. What's really going on inside those parties, do you think? What's the core struggle?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is this genuine, deep frustration driving them to look elsewhere? Or is it, perhaps, more of a strategic play?
A bargaining chip, you mean? To get a better deal within Barisan Nasional?
It could be. Their main goal, fundamentally, hasn't changed. Protect their community's interests and ensure their own political relevance in a landscape that's shifted dramatically. You have to remember, for decades, MCA and MIC were absolutely central to Barisan Nasional. They were the voice for Chinese and Indian communities within government.
They had access, influence, resources.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But recent elections, the rise of other parties,
Yeah.
it's really chipped away at their power base. Their parliamentary numbers are way down.
So if they did jump to Parakat National, what would that actually look like? Would they gain real influence?
That's the huge uncertainty. Barisan Nasional might offer a new platform, sure, but would MCA and MIC become senior partners or just smaller players in a coalition with very different ideologies?
Yeah, the ideological fit seems questionable at best.
It is. And there's strong argument that leaving the familiar, even if diminished, Barisan Nasional framework is a massive risk. Burian is a known quantity, shared history, established structures.
Jumping to a new coalition, especially one perceived the way Parakat National often is by non-Malays, could alienate their own base even further.
Precisely. It could dilute their identity. So the choice is stark. Stay in a familiar but maybe restrictive setup and fight for more from within. Or take a leap into the unknown.
Unknown challenges, maybe unknown opportunities, too.
Exactly. And it's not just about political seats. It's about the core identity and future relevance of these historically significant parties. It's a legacy-defining moment for them.
You've painted that dilemma very clearly. The frustration versus the fear of the unknown. But couldn't you also argue the opposite? That sticking with the status quo, with Barisan National's reduced influence, is actually the bigger risk, that maybe staying put is just a slow fade into irrelevance.
That's a very legitimate point, and many observers, probably even people within MCA and MIC, feel exactly that. There's the sense that just maintaining things as they are means continued marginalization. Their influence is waned election after election.
So maybe staying put makes it harder to actually deliver for their communities or attract fresh talent.
That's the argument. From that perspective, a move to Paracatan National, however risky, looks like a potential game changer. A chance to reinvent themselves, negotiate new terms, find a new space.
A chance for renewed relevance, maybe positioning themselves as the bridge for non-Malays within the opposition.
That would be the potential upside they'd be aiming for. It would certainly shake up the entire political map.
But the risks you mentioned earlier are still huge.
Absolutely substantial. Paracatan National's base is very different. The rhetoric used by some component parties there, it might really clash with MCA and MIC's traditional voters. And you also have to consider Zahid's statement again. While it's a rejection of the PAS offer, it's also, maybe, an implicit invitation.
An invitation for MCA and MIC to use the situation to bargain harder within Barisan National.
Possibly. Leverage the PAS offer, whether they seriously consider it or not, to push for better positions, clearer policy commitments from the unity government. It becomes a tool in their internal BN negotiations. It's complex maneuvering.
A very intricate dance indeed. So putting it all together, what should they choose? Stay or go? It's a massive question, not just for them, but for the country's political direction. What do you think? Where should they lean?
Well, Zahid's statement, regardless of anything else, sends one very clear message. Barisan National unity is still seen as critical right now. He stepped in quite forcefully to prevent BN fragmenting further, especially given how delicately balanced the current unity government is.
So his move reinforces the status quo, in a way.
It attempts to. Now, what MCA and MRC do next? That really will impact the whole political map. If they stay with Barisan Nasional, you might see them become more vocal, demanding more influence within the government structure. That could strengthen BN internally, maybe.
And reinforce the government's multiracial credentials.
Right. But if they do take the leap, join Paracatan National.
Oh,
Wow. That redraws everything. It could boost Paracatan National's claim to be more inclusive, at least on paper, while significantly weakening the multi-ethnic look of the current government.
It would be a fundamental challenge to the current political setup.
No doubt. It forces everyone to rethink their strategies. It goes beyond just party survival. It hits at the core narrative of multi-ethnic representation and stability in Malaysia. These decisions will echo for a long time.
That really wraps up our discussion for today. The political scene here is never static, always shifting, always presenting these tough choices that shape our future. It's about more than just parties. It's about ensuring all communities feel represented in this changing landscape. How do we make sure that happens? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in to Wallis Sandwire. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.